It's saying that I'm live, so I'm going to assume that it really is. I never know with these things. Sometimes it'll tell me I'm live, and then when I look at the replay of it, it'll be a minute or so into it before it actually goes live. But this is probably going to be my most controversial video yet. And this is strictly my opinion based off of real hardcore evidence and not the hyperbole that goes on with that you see on the news and whatever. As time goes on, I'm learning more and more that we've been lied to for generations. Especially our government has been lying to us. But anyway, this is not a political rant. This is strictly about things that we see going on. Everybody has heard that there is a national shortage of truck drivers right now. You have to wonder that up until now, or up until recently, there really has not been a shortage of truck drivers. It's been growing and growing and growing, and as the economy grew, so did the shortage of truck drivers grow. But you have to ask yourself, why is that? Is it the money? No, truck drivers still make pretty good money. In my case, I found a way to really make good money. So it's not that. Is it being gone all the time? Maybe. A lot of these trucking companies and whatever, and they're expecting an awful lot out of their drivers. Where a truck driver, when I was a young person, a truck driver would stay gone for maybe 4 days and then he'd be home for 3. And those 3 days may or may not be the weekend, but generally they were. Companies did not, for the most part, did not operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week like they do now. And especially the big retailers, they didn't operate either. They closed up at 10 o'clock at night and reopened at 10 o'clock the next morning, and were not open all night. There was no such things as Walmart, and Target and those kind of places that stay open all the time. But why are we experiencing this lack of truck drivers? It could be that being gone all the time, that could be. But I really personally, hey Brandon, good to see you, man. Thank you. I personally feel like one of the biggest reasons today why we experience this shortage of truck drivers is due to the laws that they have and about marijuana. There's so many people that are using marijuana these days, and they can't pass the drug test to get their license. My personal belief is that's the number one reason why we have such a shortage of truck drivers. There are so many people that use marijuana or have used marijuana. In the case of CRETE does a hair follicle test. So they go back, 3 months. You can't just clean yourself up for a week or so and go pass a pee test with them. They do the hair follicle test, so they're going back months to see if you've done any kind of recreational drugs and whatever. So a lot of companies are doing this, and it's not that I'm saying whether it's good or bad or whatever. It's like people that drink alcohol. If you're not drunk when you're driving, then I have no problem with it. Brandon here is saying, I agree with you, and young people are not going to give up their lives for a job. That's true. There are so many people that enjoy marijuana these days, and in a lot of states these days, marijuana is legal. Marijuana has ruined the lives of numerous people who have been caught with it, and that goes on their record, and it affects their life the rest of their life, that they had marijuana, or they were caught with it, or they they were arrested, or even if they wasn't arrested, if it just being caught with it, it can ruin your life. It can absolutely ruin your life. And there's people sitting in jail right now for minor drug offenses like that, where they were caught with, they saved up their money and they bought a pound of marijuana, and all of a sudden they get caught with it, and now they're a trafficker, and or they're growing their own. That marijuana, I understand, is expensive, so they're growing their own, and they get caught with it, and now they are a distributor and a trafficker of drugs, and it ruins their lives. It absolutely ruins them. But I believe that's the number one reason right there why there's a shortage of truck drivers, is because there's so many younger folks that are using marijuana, mainly marijuana, that they can't pass the drug test, and they're not going to be able to be a driver because of that. Me personally, I feel like it's the same thing with drinking. If you're not drunk and you're driving, you're fine. If you're not high and you're driving, you're fine. Granted, I don't know of a way, they probably know of some way to test to see how high the THC level or whatever is in order for you to be considered high. But anyway, I believe that's the number one reason why we have this shortage of truck drivers. I'm getting these silenced calls every time I get online here doing a live, and it's spam mostly, and I don't know if people are watching my videos and they're trying to call in, or I don't know what it is. But anyway, 615-709-0767. I bet you it's a spam number. But anyway, I'm not answering it. My spam killer is coming up here and telling me that it's blocking them. Anyway, back in my teenage days, people did stuff like peyote buttons and LSD and speed, and there's a whole host of other drugs that people did, and you don't hear so much of that anymore. However, now they're doing really hardcore stuff like fentanyl, and people get addicted to the opiates that they do for painkillers and whatever, and I understand that. I have went through back surgery and injured back and whatever, and I understand. I've been there. I weaned myself off of it, and you can too. But there's you have to have a desire to get off of that kind of stuff. But anyway, as far as marijuana is concerned, me personally, I don't use it. I've proven that I don't use it. I'll do a drug test anytime. They do these random drug tests with CRETE. You never know, and I'm not going to lose a job or my career or whatever over marijuana. Personally, I don't drink beer, so you have to wonder when you look at people that do that. I'm not saying all of them, but when you look at poor people, look at what they do. Look at what poor people do. And generally, you have to ask yourself, are they poor because they do that, or do they do that because they're poor? There may be and drinking beer is one of them. You see an awful lot of people that really can't hardly make the rent each month. They don't own nothing, but they rent a single wide trailer in a trailer park, and they're driving a piece of junk for a car, and they're barely scraping by. But man, every time they get a few bucks in their pocket, they go and buy a 6-pack of beer or a case of beer. And do they drink beer because they're poor, or are they poor because they drink beer? It's the same thing with marijuana. Marijuana is really expensive, I understand. So a lot of poor people use marijuana. So are they poor because they use marijuana, or do they use marijuana because they're poor? I can't answer that question, but that's one of the things that goes through my mind all the time. As far as allowing people that use marijuana to drive vehicles and whatever, they do it anyway. It is just something else for the attorneys to sue each other over. I don't know what the answer is. I'm not advocating for truck drivers to use marijuana. I don't advocate for truck drivers to drink beer either, but you know, drinking beer is legal and using marijuana is not. And when you're high, you're only high for a short period. When you're drunk, you're only drunk for a short period. So, you know, what difference does it make, really? To use the Hillary Clinton reasoning here, what difference does it make? We would have a whole lot of more American drivers out here driving trucks. We got an awful lot of foreigners that are driving big rig trucks right now that are hauling all kinds of stuff. Man, it's dangerous. It's dangerous. I would rather personally have a truck driver that's an American, that born and raised here in the good old USA and loves America, but occasionally uses marijuana. I'd rather have him driving than some foreigner that I don't know, who don't barely speak the language, and I have intentions of what he's doing. I don't know if he's just doing it for money or if he's got some other kind of ultimatum. I don't trust them either. You understand, I would rather have Americans driving trucks. Anyway, this is probably my most controversial yet. You don't see people doing LSD and speed and all these other host of drugs and whatever that are out there. And I'm not talking about doing that kind of stuff. I'm talking about marijuana in general. They keep trying to pass this through the Congress and whatever they've proven that it's not habit forming, even though most people that use marijuana like it so much they're going to continue to like it. It's kind of like people that drink beer. They like drinking beer and they're going to drink beer no matter. We got people on the Supreme Court that drink beer regularly. So, you know, is that a bad thing? Probably not. So, anyway, what's your thoughts on this? Should marijuana be legalized? You know, should we let all these people that have these minor drug offenses wipe their slate clean and give them a fresh start in life where they can make something of themselves? Should we let people drive trucks that occasionally use marijuana? What's your thoughts on this deal? Please like and subscribe and let me know down in the comments. I really appreciate you watching my videos. I'm limited here on time, and that's really about all I had for this session anyway. So thanks a bunch. By the way, it's 64 degrees in Wheatland, Wyoming today. It's like a tropical heat wave. I'm loving it. All the snow is melted. It's beautiful up here. The grass is starting to turn green. Lovely, lovely weather. I'm loving it. I'm digging it. I'll catch you out on the road. Thanks so much again for watching.